Welcome to another episode of All Tied Up. Today we have Jermaine Jones. Jermaine is known as an American soccer player who played defensive midfielder for most of his career. He has currently played for the midfielder for the Ontario Fury and has played in the major arena in Ontario. Where do we start?
Go in.
I'm really, really excited, mainly because I feel like I've met my new best friend. You know, I used to have this guy that was really close to me. And, you know, I'm a very closed-off person. And you know, what's weird is because I feel like you're kind of the same way. You don't really let people into your circle. But, you know, after I met you, you know, you're cool as shit because you are a duplicate of me, but just a little bit more rowdy. I know last night when we saw me and I was leaving at the club, and I'm like, oh, my God. I felt like the fingers were like, you know, it was like this. Like, I felt bad. I told Sean I felt bad leaving at the club last night. I'm like, I'm leaving my road dog there, my sidekick. I felt bad, but I was tired of shit. So,
all good, man. All good. Yeah, it's, you know, it's sometimes it's tough. You meet a person and then you figure out that there's a connection. You feel like something is going, you know, and there's something like for the future. In people really who know me, they figured out that I'm really close with family. I have my kids and all that stuff, and I don't let people really close to me. But if I let you close to me, then I run with you, you know. And then you my homeboy. And yeah, you Sean, then my boy Troy. Like, if I let you into my family and I call you family, then I roll, and then you in.
You're so dope because, you know, a lot of celebrities, and it's so weird. You're actually a really big, you know, celebrity in your world in soccer. You know, I told you before, I've never been to a soccer game. Hopefully this year we'll go. But, you know, you're probably one of the only very few people I've ever met that's that humble. I only have pretty much one person on my list, which is the Wonder family, which they're amazing. But other than that, it's you. And, you know, it's weird that, you know, that you're so humble. What brought you to that?
I think, you know, it's like the point having kids too, you know. So I'm coming from a single family, single mom, you know, growing up, being in a young age already the dad for all my siblings, you know, have to take care of them. So I had to grow and have to adapt to the situation over there. So, and now I'm seeing like money, all that stuff, you know, it comes and goes. So there's way more important stuff, especially having kids, concentrating on charities and helping kids in different countries. I think that's more stuff where I'm looking in and I'm more excited about, you know. Of course, I try to enjoy my life and enjoy time with friends, but I think there's so much more in life to be thankful, you know. And that's why I'm saying, like, if I let you into my circle, then I really want to have friends who I can say that's a friend to death, you know, and not like club friends or something like that. So it is for me really important to be humble and be thankful for that what I have. Yeah.
You know what? For me, because, you know, growing up, you know, there was always people that were envious of me. My family is done really well, but it's not like it's me, right? They've done well. You know, you've done extremely well for yourself, you know, but you're so humble. I haven't met a person like you in a long period of time where it's just cool to be a friend. You know, it doesn't matter what you have, nothing. Like, your spirit, your soul, and you're so unique. You know, you translate that to your kids. You know, you try to teach them the same thing because your kids are very well mannered. Your whole family is. Even, you know, your cousin that I took out, right? Yeah. Such a great guy. I took him out, and you're probably like, "What, Ty? Where are you taking him off?" You know, I think he's taking them all. Yeah. I'm showing him other places, you know, because it's almost like being part of a big family.
Yeah.
Talk about growing up in Germany.
Okay, so touching basis on this, you know, your father was into the army, right?
Yeah.
And your mom was a German?
Yeah.
So you have a dual citizenship, right?
Yeah, I have both side passports and citizenships. Growing up in Germany, you know, going back to this whole thing, I would say, like, growing up there was a good time, you know. My dad, he was in the military. Then he met my mom over there. And then we moved back when I got born. I think around one year, kind of, I moved back. I live in Mississippi, Greenwood, and where my dad is from. And we stayed there till I turned 7. And then my mom was pregnant, so we got back to Germany. And then my mom and dad got split. And then I stayed with my mom. You know, my dad, he had some issues to go through. You know, he went to jail, and had to fix some stuff out, and I stayed with my mom over there, yeah, from there started like seeing what is next, being a young kid, falling in love with the ball, playing soccer every day, and that was my passion.
Did you have any animosity towards your father?
In which way?
Well, a lot of people that I've talked to before, when they play sports, they take their anger out, in their sport, so
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if there was anything that made you passionate because you were trying to deal with a certain situation.
No, not at all. To be honest, like, to all the respect to my mom, she never like said one word bad about my dad, She always kept him up and said he's the dad, and she respected him for everything he did when he was there. And for me, just was being the oldest one, I grew up in a rough town, and I always said my dream was like to get out of there. So I don't want it to be living there. I saw people, in especially the area where I grew up. I was young, but I was around with people who sell drugs and all that stuff. So, and I had the option to do that, or say, okay, no, I'll go a different way. In my way was the game. So I love the game, and I put everything in what I said before. I was the oldest kid. So especially then when I turned like 18, 17 and started getting my professional career started, and I was like, okay, that's talked with my best friend. I said to him, like, look, I want to get out of here. I want to make money. I want to live. I want to make money for my family to give them a different life, And I'm the oldest one of 5 kids, and so that was more like what was driving me. It was not really the anger about my dad. Of course, there's moments. I think everyone, how it is. Like, if you have like your dad around or something, there's some moments where you don't want to talk with your mom. You prefer to talk with your dad. So if he's not there, it's a tough time, and you maybe go through some rough moments. But it was not really on the pitch that I said like, oh, he's his fault or something like that.
Ask him what the moment was that he decided to
What was
get
it?
out of that neighborhood. Like, why did you go that way instead of the other way?
When you had the opportunity and you knew that you had a chance to become professional, what was that like?
To be honest, like in the first place where I grew up is like what I said before, is you have drug dealers and you have hustlers, and I was around all them. So, and I saw in a young age already, I saw a lot of money, but from more from the darker side, right? And in money in that case made it attractive, where like like I was 17 and then I started hanging out with like beautiful women, had like a Lamborghini but I had no license and all that stuff, and had
a Lamborghini, no license?
Yeah, and had my friend driving me and like all that stuff. Well, I made already good money, but then tried to keep it serious and all that stuff, but
You had a Lamborghini, no license, and you're driving around Europe with like a chauffeur?
He was not a chauffeur, he was my homeboy.
Whatever it is, I mean, you had a Lamborghini driving around Europe, and you didn't have your license. What is that like, man? Like, I mean, let's talk about this. People dream about having that experience. As you came out of you said not so great neighborhood, where it was drug filled, and that was maybe your only option. But you've done something with your life. Out of 5 siblings, you've done something with your life.
Yeah, I say like we all have that in us, right? Like if you have a big dream and then you kind of get there, then you started like, okay, the first thing. And I always said like, all my boys and like the older guys, they had like already like big cars, and I always like, when I was young, I was like, man, if I make my money that I can buy that car, I will buy it. I don't care if I have a license or not. So in the day I made it, and I had then money to buy it, I win. My mom and everybody said like, what are you doing? But I'm like, look, I'm taking care of everything, so let me enjoy that time. So I bought that car and had it, and but then when I had it, it was just a toy, and I figured out what you said exactly. Like I had no license, and I was like, why I buy this car? I think it was really interested the first couple months, and I really enjoyed it. But then what you said, like I had a guy who has to drive it, and so he drove it more than I had it. And but in general, I think it's just like coming out of this area and everything, like making this kind of money. Then when I turned 18, I really signed into the professional team. It was completely different situation, So I made way more money than when I was 17. But in a lot of people don't know that I went to depression and all that stuff, just to get out of it. Especially make in the age of 18 that much money, and you can from one day off the next you can spend and you can buy everything you want. Like it's tough sometimes, you know, especially coming out of this area where I came. I was still in the area, I was still in the hood, hanging out with all the guys and help them out and all that stuff. So sometimes the money was not a good decision to have that much money.
You know what's so crazy about that? And I don't know if it's a spiritual level that I appreciate you on, but there's some kind of connection because, you know, at 21, I made millions of dollars and I had all these fake people around me, right? And it's almost like it brings you down, right? You have all this great success and everybody loves you, but it's not real love. It's not like the kind of love that we have with our children, right? And it's like we start losing track of what that friendship really was when, you know, we had no money and they were your real friend.
Yeah.
Like we lose sight of that. And so I can appreciate what you're saying. Like you got this Lamborghini and you're driving around, you have like basically a chauffeur, you know, your friend home driving, he's very envious of you. You have a lot of jealousy, you know, because you're maybe one of the few people that can actually really make it out of, you know, your community.
Yeah. You know, I think we talked already like in, I think a couple of days ago about like friendships and all that stuff. And I told you like how crazy it is sometimes, like, especially here in America, you always see like celebrities, like they have always the entourage, right?
Sorry, we're gonna hold on to, I guess.
That airplane's loud.
Chris, what do you want to hop into?
Damn, Kai, is that a dress or like a pair of pants or what? I'm trying to figure this out. That's called ADD.
So after Germany, you moved to the States, right?
So
As a kid,
Yeah, I moved when I was 1.
and you moved
to
with the whole family, right?
Mississippi.
Yeah, I
Mississippi.
think that's interesting. Like, I want to hear about like having a American serviceman for a dad and a German mom, and what's that like? Are you feeling like you're from Germany, or are you feeling like you're from America? What's your actually?
You know, okay, so let's go with it. Yeah, because you know, it's interesting. You know, your dad's a serviceman, your mom is from Germany. You know, you moved to Missouri, like, and then you moved back to Germany. What's that like, man?
You know, to be honest, like I don't know so much when I came over here, right? But what I always knew was that we always lived on bases, military bases, right? And that's most of the time we stayed in. Yeah, my dad was a soldier. He was like really strict in kind of living. Like in my mom was just like house. She was a mom, took care of the family at home, and I just remember that she said that my dad, after moving to Mississippi, he wanted to stay in Mississippi, but then my mom don't feel comfortable because her family was back in Germany. So this was like a reason too, because why we moved back. And of course, I think then she never said it, but I think in the age of 7, when we moved back, I think they had already a couple kind of troubles, and this is why my mom said then she moved back. She was pregnant with my sister, so. And this like we moved back, and then like 2 weeks later my dad got arrested and had to go back here to jail. He been to jail for 20 years and yeah, was not allowed to come back to Germany for like 10 years or 15 years.
Your dad was in jail. What was it for?
Some different issues, you know, some different problems, you know. I think you can see it if you have a high number like that.
What the fuck is this, guys? Let's wait for what the fucking stalkers, the TMZ people here. Shit. Look at Sean. This is how you know this is how you know you have an executive producer when Sean's like the blonde guy over there is trying to figure out. He looks like the movie Powder from. Fucking guy doesn't have any expression on his face, like it's all the same because his fucking eyebrows are blonde. Damn. I think he smiled.
It's fucking hot in here.
Huh?
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So going back to that, so you know, obviously you know, but maybe we don't want to talk about it on the podcast, but you know, your dad, I mean, a 20-year sentence, you know, not knowing if you could see your dad again, that's really tough, you know?
Yeah.
It is.
So, I was young when he left, so I really don't focus on it. There's moments where you miss him, you know, but I think then in the age when I got older, and special meeting him then with age of 25 or something, it was kind of a birthday present for my ex-wife. she found him, and then she introduced me back to him. And then I asked him, and I said, look, what happened really? And then he's like, he told me all the reasons why, what really happened. And then I asked him, why you never called, why you never talked and tried to figure out what's going on. And he said, I had 2 options, and the option was like, call my lawyer or call my family in Germany. And I called my lawyer. So
that's sad, because my family, that very, very prestigious family, and my dad never really called me for my birthdays or called me, because you have this, you're supposed to be, Jermaine Jones, right? You have this perfect life. It's not perfect, is it? Because I didn't experience the perfect, the stuff that we watched on TV, the stuff that we watched in the Cosbys, and Cosby's in jail and all this stuff. It's not perfect. And these people have this perception that, what people go with and go, through their lives is supposed to be this TV perfect picture. It's not what it is. And like, I see how you are with your children. You try to make up for all the time, that your father hasn't had with you. Yeah. And you're a great dad. Actually, let me take that back. You're an amazing dad, because you are trying to make sure that you're there for them.
All right, let's talk about. So you moved here. So talk about how you got into soccer. What was the first time you saw? Why that sport? When obviously it's huge in Europe and etc. But why did that?
You mean football?
It's also interesting because you had an American father who probably didn't know anything about soccer.
No.
And you first were in America.
Yeah.
In Mississippi, where there's probably no soccer.
7 years old.
7, then you moved to Germany, and
then it's clicked. Yeah.
Like that's where it gets interesting.
So you moved from, you moved back to Germany. You picked up a soccer ball for the first time. Your mom said, "Hey, go to school, kick the ball around." I mean, at what point did you say, "This is my passion. I'm going to do something with it"?
I think we all have it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of.
Hold on one second, because I can hear the sound. This is the EP side of me. You're gonna hear the fucking air.
I know, he turned it on to get the air going, but
it's off. How the fuck is it off?
He just turned it on.
A second to turn it off.
Like that though? That's that TV element.
Your collar on the jacket runs up.
No, that's called pimping it, dog. Okay. I got some London girls calling me, courtesy of they only want my credit card information and a hotel room, and I'm not gonna see them or a picture. Thanks, dude. It's a new concierge service.
I'm just taking care.
All right, where we're gonna go with this. Sorry.
Talk about, but I guess really what he said, how soccer really eventually came into your life. It was moving back to Germany.
So yeah, 7 years old. You got the soccer ball in your hand, and what's that like? Like, you're kicking the soccer ball. Did you have this, passion for it?
It's the last one. They'll be done. Go ahead.
Go get some fucking rocks, dude. Throw that shit.
I already talked to them. Maybe a little.
Huh?
They said they're fixing the last one. They'll be done. So how did you guys set that?
We can't even take this shit, because you know what? My road dog over here, we're gonna grab these fucking stones right there. You're gonna see a whole new crucifixion with this shit.
Right, here, let's just cut real quick. Cut. Just so we have that in the bag.
Air conditioning. So where am I going with this?
Moving back to Germany.
Moving back to Germany.
Getting into soccer, really.
Okay.
I mean, who introduced you to soccer? Is your mom?
No, my mom had no idea from soccer. I think she came the first time to a game. I was 18 years old or 19 years old. So she never. I played most of the time. I played far away from home, so she had not the money to come. So she came the first time, and I invited her and kind of bring her out there. So
did she know you were good?
She knew, but because people starting when I was 16 trying to pay stuff for me to get me play for their teams, so she knew that there's something.
Was it important that you had this desire in you to win? Like, did she understand like who you were? Like, you had this burning sensation. You're saying, "I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna leave this town. I'm never gonna look back."
Yeah, I think you can see it from a young age already, right? So when I moved back from the States and I moved back to Germany, I started playing on the streets with my boys, just like for fun. And then from playing on the streets for fun, we played for the bigger guys. They made their own teams, and then they picked teams, and they played for money. So we played like for the bigger guys for money, and then from there going into my first club where I grew up in, played for maybe 3 years. and then figured out that other clubs came and be like, oh, who's this kid, you know? He's really interested, and we want to see what we can do with him. And then my mom said, what is like the options? And they're like, yeah, we would take care of all his soccer cleats and all that stuff. We pick him up from school, we drive him to soccer and all that stuff. And my mom's like, oh wow, so he's good? And they're like, yes, he will be good. And then from there, it was like step by step. I moved to different clubs, and then I said, with 17, I started making real good money. And
What's that like? I mean, I didn't read that. I mean, I know I had a Wikipedia page that had fucking 10 pages on it, but you know, I didn't see that. What's good money at that time? You know, I mean, obviously you were trying to survive. What's good money?
I would say like if you're 17 and you make over almost close to $2 million, it's with 17.
And what was that like? I mean, you had the girls coming at you. You had the money.
It was in general like you know what you already talked before. Like you have like I grew up with all these homeboys, and I had an entourage from like maybe like 10, 12 people always with me, jumping around everything. And I was 17, and then when I turned 18, this is the time where I signed my first professional deal, and I was able to go in nightclubs and everything where you can go out with 18. So now all the nightclubs, everybody opens the door because this young kid comes who is like in that time like LeBron James here in LA. I was Jermaine Jones in Frankfurt, you know, so everybody knew me. I grew up there, have my whole homeboys with me, and yeah, we would run to town, and people be like, oh wait, and for me, this is what I'm saying, it was good for a while, but then you young and you throw money out like crazy, and then and then at one point it gets you, you know, it always circles back, you know, it's fun. And then you said like, then I started like picking out who's the friends, who's not the good friends. People starting stealing money, people starting crashing my cars, and don't give a shit about anything, you know. And then from there I started like picking, and this is what I'm saying, like now what you said before, I'm really, really close with people who I let into my life. And but in now I live with that 3 rules. Like I always tell people who I know, I always say, for me it's important: respect, be thankful, and give love. That's for me the 3 most important things, you know. And if I figure out that you lie just about small stuff, I cut you out of my friend, you know. And this is how I roll now. You met my cousin at my house, you know. I know him. He's family, real family. Then Troy, I call my family, so he lives in my house too. So if I let you into my house, introduce you to my kids, that means a lot for me.
How about your dog?
I introduce you, but he will figure it out if he likes you or not. So if he attacks you, that means he don't like you.
No, I brought some treats over to him. If you like what you've heard here today, please subscribe to our Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Thanks for listening.